Nintendo caused quite a stir earlier today after their Nintendo Direct announcement of the Switch 2 and everything that went on with that one, because it was revealed afterwards that they're going to be charging $90 for physical copies of Mario Kart World with $80 for digital copies. Now, on the one hand, I will applaud them for this move because I think you should be charged less for buying a digital copy of a game because you're not really owning the game. You're essentially just renting it long term. So because of that, I think you should be able to pay less for a game than a physical copy of the game because when you buy a physical copy, you actually have some ownership of it, or at least you're supposed to. Now, with current games, it's not really the case, but a lot of old games, when you had physical copies, you can just pop it into the console, and as long as both of them work, then you can play it. Nowadays, many physical copies are basically just keys to have a digital copy of it, but that's a whole other issue entirely. I think this is a good precedent to charge less for digital copies of games. Of course, $90 is an awful lot to charge for a game, and if you recall a couple months ago, some studios and some people were speculating that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be $100 at launch just for a standard copy of the game. And many studios were hoping that they would do this because then it would kind of open the floodgates, so to speak, and kind of justify other studios charging $100 for their AAA releases, something that they've wanted to do but didn't feel like they can necessarily get away with. But Rockstar, they probably could actually get away with charging $100 for their game. So if they did that, then other studios who've been struggling to make enough money on their existing AAA titles would then start incorporating this type of methodology and charging more for their games, which would basically mean $100 upon launch is kind of the standard. At least it looked like Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to be the one that kind of opens that door, but now it's looking like it's probably Nintendo. And while the video game industry might feel like that they're justified in charging that much, a lot of gamers seem to disagree. Of course, $100 or $90, that sounds like an awful lot to charge for a game, but this post I saw going around over on X, this is from Razorfist, video game prices haven't kept pace in 30 years, and then showing this catalog image of Toys R Us from back in the 90s, judging by this NHL 96. I'm assuming it's 96 is when this was released. And look at the price of some of these games. I mean, this was like $80 for that, $95 for Doom, $90. I mean, it's expensive for games back then. Now, things were obviously a lot different, and you can see by the wide array of prices that it wasn't like an industry was standardized where it kind of became agreed upon where, okay, a regular game will be $60 and later $70 and $80 and, or actually now it's jumping up to $80 for a digital release. $90 for a physical copy, and maybe when Grand Theft Auto comes out, $100 for a physical copy. And I think what a lot of people are kind of shocked about when it comes to all this is not necessarily the price increase, so to speak, or the price for the game, but just how suddenly this seems to come upon us, because it wasn't long ago, just a few years ago, where a game, new AAA one, was $60, and it wasn't long before that it was $50, and now they're talking about $90. That seems pretty sudden. And I think a lot of the problems with the AAA industry is kind of like what he says in this post, is that the games just haven't really kept pace with the market and that they've been kind of underselling themselves on it. This isn't to justify the AAA gaming industry. This is just kind of to explain what's been going on here. And I think a lot of the AAA studios are realizing that they're undercharging for their games, and they're trying to correct it, but they're correcting it too suddenly. And when you do something too suddenly, this is when you get this type of pushback. Like, if over the course of 10 years, they slowly amped up the price from $70 to $100, then I think there would be a lot less resistance. But since it was pretty much like immediately, well, then you having like a 20% price increase, that's pretty sudden. And it might not sound like much, but just think of it like this. If you were to get something that burns and it burns slowly, that's fine. But if it burns very rapidly, that's what's called an explosion. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And that's why there's this type of pushback. I mean, personally, I don't like the fact that they're charging this much for games. I think a lot of games are pretty expensive for what you're getting with it. But I mean, if if people are willing to actually pay the price, then the market will ultimately decide what a game is worth. This is a scam. Mario Kart World's physical copies cost $90 and fans are furious. And this article is from The Gamer. First, it's kind of going over what went on at the Nintendo Direct announcement, talking about how it was $80 for digital copies of it, and the new Donkey Kong game, it'll be $70 for a digital copy of that, $80 for the physical copy of it. That on its own would have been enough to rile up some Nintendo fans, but the matter has now been made worse, as it seems as though Nintendo will start charging more money for physical games, starting with the Nintendo Switch 2. If you want a physical copy of Mario Kart World, you're looking at parting with $90 instead. Similarly, the newly announced Donkey Kong Bonanza will cost $70 digitally, but will set you back $80 if you want physical. And like I said before, I think that's actually good, charging less for a digital copy because you're not getting as much technically, so you shouldn't have to pay as much. They're trying to frame it as a negative, but I think that's a positive. It just depends on how you're looking at it. Like, oh, you're charging more for digital versus you're charging less for digital, which is actually more than what you're paying right now. But still, I digress. It's the same in other territories too as Mario Kart World. Physical will cost 90 euros compared to the 80 euro digital edition, while the digital version of Mario Kart World in the UK will cost roughly 67 pounds, but 75 pounds for the physical. You can probably imagine that Nintendo fans aren't happy. And yeah, a lot of people online have been saying like, this is a terrible decision and they're upset about this. And like I was saying, I kind of understand it because they created an explosion in the industry, having the price increase this drastic, this suddenly. If it would have been a lot less resistance to it if they kind of ramped it out over the several years, but having it suddenly like this, you are going to get this reaction. Now it's just a matter of whether or not this will affect their bottom line, because like I was saying with Grand Theft Auto 6, I think they could justify charging $100, and I think people will pay that. Could they justify $90 for a physical copy of Mario Kart World or $80 for a digital copy? Yeah, I think there's going to sell pretty well for this, especially if you take advantage of the bundle that they're having for this, or the Switch 2 is going to be for around $450 at launch for the console itself, $500 if you want it bundled with Mario Kart World, which I think a lot of people will take advantage of that. So you're saving about $30 on the game, and I think they're going to sell a lot of copies as a result of that. But still, I don't think they should be under the illusion, and I don't think other studios should be under the illusion that they can just do this with every game, because not every game could justify this cost. Maybe Nintendo understands that, which is why they're not charging as much for their Donkey Kong game. And if they're going to release some games also that are going to be, I don't know, $50, $60, $70, I think that's a better move. You only charge this type of amount for some of the premium games, and I think it'll be okay in the long run. And I think it'll be good for studios if they have a variety of games of varying budgets with various price points like this. I think it can work. But if they start using this as an excuse to just slap the highest amount of price on every game that's getting released, then I think it's going to kind of exacerbate the decline in the gaming industry, or at least the AAA industry, because like I said earlier, in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of studios struggle to sell copies of their games. And if they're charging more for it, they're just going to kind of collapse even faster. But if they start understanding like not every game is worth this price, the big premium games, we maybe charge a higher price for that, but then we'll also create smaller games at a lesser price and put those out as well to help supplement the cost for the production of other stuff. I think that would be better in the long run. Kind of create like, I don't know, single A games or double A games, or actually I'd like a more of an emergence of indie games where they're at even significantly less price for that. Have more stuff like that in there, and basically just more games with more price points, as opposed to every game that's going to be released is going to be at a high price point like this. That's not a good thing. Well, I guess we just have to wait and see what other studios take from this. If they just take it as a permission slip to just slap $90 on every game, then that's going to be bad news. And Nintendo is kind of the one who paved the way for all that. But by having varying price points like this, if Nintendo paved the way for that, then I would say that's good on them. So right now, when it comes to all this news, there were some negatives and some positives in Nintendo's camp. So I guess how you feel about it really just matters of how much you're willing to spend on their games. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think this is justified, or do you think they're just trying to take advantage of gamers out there? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.